savage creatures that you wouldn't wish to ever encounter. You think snakes today are scary? Well, how about one that weighs over 1 ton? That was the Titanoboa, the largest snake to ever live. Keep watching to get a few more details about this giant serpent. Here we go! Number 10. Megalodon. Being a shark, the Megalodon's skeleton was made of cartilage, which means it was long gone before scientists bumped into it. Much of what is known today about this extinct shark species has been deduced from mainly its teeth. According to approximations, the beast might have grown to a little over 20 meters in length and weighed in at 60 tons. That means it was way larger than the biggest fish alive today, the whale shark, which averages about 12 meters in. Given that size, the Megalodon was large enough to go after whales, something that even the most ferocious of the modern-day great whites wouldn't dare. Aside from the advantageous size, this beast had other adaptations that cemented its top position in the food chain. It had over 270 serrated teeth, strong enough to chomp down on some of the biggest animals of that time like whales. And to make sure the teeth didn't fail in their function, this prehistoric shark had one of the most lethal bite forces in the animal kingdom. According to recent models, the Megalodon generated a force between 11 and 18 tons with its jaws, one of the strongest bite forces on the planet. For perspective, that's enough to crush a car. Scientists believe the beastly sharks lived between 15.9 and 2.6 million years ago. Number 9. Smilodon. The Smilodon could pretty much induce the same fear as modern-day big cats like the tiger and lion. But interestingly, it isn't related to any of these formidable predators except for its love for meat. Generally, the Smilodon was slightly more built compared to most of the big cats today, which was an important adaptation for hunting. With the stocky build, it had the right amount of muscle power to wrestle down the likes of bison and camels, which made up a big part of its diet. This love for big prey has been suggested as the likely reason for the extinction of these cats about 10,000 years ago. Among the saber-toothed cats, Smilodon is most known for a long pair of upper canine teeth that could grow up to 30 centimeters in the biggest species. Nevertheless, the seemingly dangerous teeth didn't play a central role in the cat's hunting. In fact, they were too brittle for any serious struggle with prey. As mentioned, the Smilodon used its powerful forelimbs to subdue prey before engaging their conspicuous canines. Number 8. Haast's eagle. The other extinct animals in this video are thought to be deadly because of their sheer size and other supporting features like teeth and beaks for birds. But for the Haast's eagle, its deadly nature was because it actually preyed on humans. Taking into account its massive 9 centimeter long talons and a wingspan of over 3 meters, it's easy to imagine the terror the early New Zealand inhabitants had to endure. But for a larger part, the eagle didn't hunt people. Its main source of food was the moa bird, which was significantly bigger than the Haast's eagle. In fact, scientists believe the eagle's rapid size increase was in response to having access to only the moa for food. It had established itself as the apex predator, but the entry of human inhabitants on the island meant it had to compete for food. Gradually, it turned to preying on the early Maori settlers to supplement its dwindling food sources. But it was already too late by this time. The numbers started to fall considerably, with the eagle going extinct 500 years ago, 200 years after the first humans set foot in New Zealand. Number 7. Terror birds. The name pretty much sums up the kind of creatures these birds were. They fed exclusively on meat and were right at the top of the food chain 2 million years ago when they went extinct. Meat-eating birds are not so new, right? Except these weren't your regular carnivorous birds. At a height of over 3 meters, they could very well tower over an average adult human being. The height also came with muscular and powerful legs that were particularly handy in chasing down prey. The birds could crank up some impressive speeds despite their slightly bulky nature. At 50 kilometers an hour, they were in a good position to catch up with most of their fleeing prey. To apprehend prey, they turned to their curved beaks that allowed them to tear away flesh much like today's carnivorous birds. But they didn't always have to tear anything. They were well endowed enough to swallow an animal the size of an average cat in a single gulp. Interestingly, the modern-day relatives of the terror birds are nowhere as frightening. The sarimas found in South America grow to just about 80 centimeters. Number 6. T-Rex. The T-Rex is one of the most known dinosaur species thanks to the film Jurassic Park. Though not as big as a few of its carnivorous peers, it commands significant respect in other aspects. For starters, it had one of the strongest bite forces of any land animal. As per approximations, the extinct reptile could tear away as much as 230 kilograms of meat in a single bite. That was certainly important in maintaining its huge frame of 12 meters in length and 8 tons in weight. It also had a long, powerful tail that, coupled with strong hind limbs, gave it an edge in pursuing prey. All these were clear advantage on the T-Rex's part when it came to hunting, but this wasn't the only mode of getting the much-needed food. Evidence suggests that the powerful predator might have scavenged often to supplement its diet. Number 5. Predator X. Predator X remains were unearthed back in 2009 in the Norwegian island of Svalbard. Belonging to the Pliosaurus genus, it was the first of its kind to be discovered. There had been others in both France and England, but it was slightly different, pointing to the possibility of a new species altogether. And sure, after closer analysis, Predator X was found to be a larger and more powerful aquatic predator that grazed the seas during the Jurassic period about 160 to 145 million years ago. In 2012, the new species was named Pliosaurus funkii, and a treasure trove of information was published. The size was one of the interesting facts about the reptile, with the average length being placed at 12 meters. At such a length, the extinct predator is bigger than the killer whale, which currently holds the title for the largest apex predator. But the size was just one aspect that makes Predator X scary. Its skull was certainly an important part of its predation. It afforded the reptile one of the most powerful bites ever. According to scientists, the bite force could have even been 4 times that of the mighty T-Rex. You can only imagine the damage such a bite would do. Number 4. Titanoboa. As already mentioned, the Titanoboa holds the record for the largest snake to ever exist, with a length of over 14 meters and a weight of over 1 ton, according to BBC Earth. Despite the large size, its hunting technique wasn't so different from its modern-day relatives like the boa constrictor and the mighty anaconda. It hunted by ambushing and wrapping itself around prey to deliver the bone-crushing constriction. With the massive size, scientists believe Titanoboa's movement on land would have largely been impaired. As such, some posit that the gigantic serpent might have spent much of its time in the water, just like the green anaconda. In the aquatic environment, it could hunt even the crocodiles and some of the biggest fish of that time. But how was it possible for this reptile to grow so big? The possible answer lies in the Earth's conditions at the time it was evolving. Warmer conditions meant it could grow to a larger size, since snakes depend on that external heat to stay alive. The Titanoboa lived in present-day Central America 60 million years ago, right after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Number 3. Sarcosuchus. Sarcosuchus was close to crocodiles in appearance, something that's well reflected in its name. Sarcosuchus translates to flesh crocodile. Although this beast can't really be termed as a crocodile, it's just a distant relative of this modern-day reptile. One major distinguishing feature was its size. At a length of 12 meters and a weight of over 10 tons, Sarcosuchus was way bigger than the saltwater crocodile, the biggest croc in modern times. About 2 meters of this length was taken up by the skull, offering enough space for the over 130 teeth that the beast possessed. The massive size and the characteristic numerous teeth gave this reptile all it needed to conquer its surroundings. It could take on pretty much any animal that crossed its ecosystem, including dinosaurs, along which it existed. Specifically, it fed on Suchomimus that's believed to have been slightly smaller than Sarcosuchus itself. But that was once in a while. The better part of its diet was made up of mainly fish, since it spent most of its time in the water. Sarcosuchus lived between 130 and 110 million years ago in what became Africa and South America.
Now it's time for today's best pick.
Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. Oarfish. Of course, the oarfish isn't extinct yet, nor is it dangerous. Its diet consists of tiny plankton, since it doesn't have real teeth, but rather gill rakers that serve enough purpose in trapping the plankton. Also, the passage to the digestive system is so tiny that it wouldn't be in the fish's best interest to consume anything bigger than plankton. And seeing these giant bony fish is not very common, since they prefer the deep seas. Typically, they hang out at depths of between 2,000 and 1,000 meters in both temperate and tropical oceans. Though rare, scientists have scored some tidbits on these deep-sea dwellers. For instance, they are the largest bony fish so far, with an average adult having a length of the biggest dinosaurs to ever be discovered The Spinosaurus had some very unique features as deduced from its fossil remains. Analyses have confirmed the presence of short hind limbs, which were also present in prehistoric whales, dense and compact bones just like those in penguins, and a long, slender snout. All these features show that this gigantic dinosaur could have been a swimmer, and the snout, in particular, had just the perfect anatomy for catching fish. In addition to these unique features, the Spinosaurus had a sail-like protrusion on its back, comprising a series of spines covered by the skin. The specific purpose of this unusual feature still gives scientists a hard time. Lots of theories have come up over the years, but none of them seem to be convincing enough. But the widely accepted theory is that the sail might have played an important role in thermoregulation. Just like most carnivorous dinosaurs, the Spinosaurus boasted one of the strongest bites in the animal kingdom, which allowed it to go after some of the biggest marine creatures of prehistoric North Africa.